wanted to look something up. I didn't understand. Morgen, was macht er? Da halt's mit ein bisschen?
Yeah, Baruch Hashem, it could be better, but I'm saying I'm with it.
Oh, that's a good
Tough
idea.
week, tough week. Baruch Hashem.
Okay. Pas Shabbos bo menucha.
That's it. Especially this Shabbos, right? Yeah. The message is unbelievable.
It's gehört. Ah, schreib gut. Süß, huh? The cholol, the emptiness. Morning, good morning. Dank, shalom aleichem.
Say out loud, but it's just too funny. Like it just.
Very good.
He's a clever one. Half the years he writes the the magazine. He's very smart, but he's really a clever one.
This way? Good morning, everybody. Page Yud Aleph, the last paragraph. Nimtzinu lemeidim. Nimtzenu lemeidim, what we have come out learning. Nimtzenu lemeidim is a usual term that's used at the end of the discussion, and a whole pilpul you'll say nimtza. What comes out of all of this? Nimtzenu lemeidim. What we came out learning from all of this is ech sheshleim usmoichin hakoidmin al yidei shehigiu l'soif maisa shehu hadibur lahamakabel hu siba l'soiridus moichin chadashim yoiser nalim shehu moichin da atika al yidei ni'itzas haschala. You see, the nimshal, every detail that we spoke about is vital to the whole structure. Everything we spoke about in the mashal, all the details, literally. There was nothing stam derech agav for entertainment purposes of how teaching works. It was all essential building blocks in a puzzle of a mashal which mirrors the nimshal. So it's extremely important for the nimshal to keep in mind all of the aspects of the mashal, bal neder af echad, without even losing one detail, one aspect. So what did we just learn? That translation, that it's the perfection or the completion of the previous moichin, which means of the previous state of awareness, cognition, and communication, which reached soif maisa. What is the soif maisa of the previous awareness? The end, the goal, the communication to the student, which is the ultimate end, the soif maisa. Went through a whole process. The teacher became a teacher, he learns on his own, and then he wants to communicate, and he wants to really communicate. And he has to go through what we learned, the yud and the hey and the vav and the hey, the two preparations within himself, and the two preparations vis-a-vis his student. He first has to make sure that he has it, what we call in Yiddish, ehatas harois. He captured it in a klal, in a prat, yud and hey, rav, ayisapra, chachma, bina. Then there's hechina, v'gam chakra for the student. That's the vav and the hey. In worlds it's called atzilus, bria, yitzira, asiya. And then finally, vayomer la'adam, speaking begins, communication. And that's soif maisa. That's the soif, that's the goal, that's the end. This is the end zone. This is where you wanted the ball to go to. Everything else, it may have taken 6 months, it may have taken 6 years. Maybe his whole life he's preparing for it. But this is the moment. Soif Maisa. And as we learned, no, it's Soifon B'tchilasan, right? Soif Maisa Machshav Tchila, because that's the purpose. So what happens now is it reached Soif Maisa. It came to Soif Maisa. It reached its Shleimus. It reached its Shleimus because the Dibur to the Mekabel happened. You're now communicated. There's the real connection. That's the ultimate space where you left your space and you went into the other person's space. What happens now? It reached the Shleimus. So now no, it's Soifon B'tchilasan. You remember the three explanations. Why through Dibur there's a new depth? Because it's Chalkos. Why through Dibur there's a new depth? Because the Chayzer, the tension that's created from the connection with the student, seeing the face, and the collision of two paradoxical emotions. Number one, his deepest desire that it be absorbed, and the difficulty for the Makabel to absorb it, hitting a stone wall. So to speak, the earth bounces back and unleashes through Chayzer the Koyach Chiyuli of the Nefesh HaMaskalas. I'm using the same terminology we used and explained. Number three, they know it's Soifon B'tchilasan, that something happens to the self when the ultimate objective of the relationship is fulfilled, which you can't experience inside of you despite all the preparations. It only happens when you actually touch the other, and in touching the other, something in you emerges that you could have not precipitated before. What? A new level of awareness. So what does this mean? When the first moichin, if the teacher wouldn't prepare, or if the teacher would be a half-baked shiur, if the first level of awareness would have not reached its shleimus, this whole process wouldn't happen. It's only because it reached its shleimus all the way to Soif Maisa, suddenly this is the cause for his oirus, for the triggering, for the arousal of a new moichin chadashim yoser nailim, which we called moichin the atika. Moichin the atika, we remember the conscious begins with chachma. That's like the flash. Where did that come from? I don't know. I don't know. Somebody knows, but just I don't know. Because I have no control there. It's the ayin. That's already the state of what we call keser, atik. So the level of awareness that I'm communicating, that's the chachma, the bina, das, that's all from the place of gilui, from consciousness, from the yesh. But the new awareness is coming from moichin of atik, from the moichin of keser, which is a level of awareness that I couldn't have yesterday. Why couldn't I have it yesterday? Because it's a different level. It's a different realm. I have no access to it. I prepared, I did a tzimtzum, I did whatever I can. But I can only do what I can. I can't go to a place where I have no access.
So even though shiur wasn't finished, even though it was interrupted, so to speak, by this thing, he's still calling it Sof Masa? Because he was at the stage of intimate communication.
Yes.
The shiur was in the middle.
Yeah.
It was still considered because he had reached that level.
Yeah.
It's an essential that started above.
And I should say, on the third explanation, it's probably more connected to the end of the shiur than the beginning of the shiur. When the soif really comes out, the dibur to the makabel is completed, often that's the moment on the third level, the third reason we explained for the new moichin, where it emerges, because the soif is much deeper.
But he didn't get to that sof because the shiur was interrupted by his insight, and the Talmidim lost the connection, as he said. So he never really got to the Sof Masa.
No, I mean as he's reaching the soif, as he's reaching that soif, the shleimus, so there's more soif, there's more the tachlis reaching the other, so the tchila comes out. So we call that moichin the atika aidei itzas haschala, because the end we always remember is etched in the beginning, and I can't get to that tchila if I didn't touch the soif. I can't prepare for it. I'm not going to get to that chila. This is rooted in the very fabric, interwoven into the very fabric of the cosmos. It doesn't have a logical rhyme or reason in terms of mathematics what happens, but it's inherent to the very fabric of the cosmos because it's rooted in the whole system of creation by the Rabbi Shalom by Hashem himself that notes soifon b'tchilasan. I can't touch my own tchila until I don't go to the soif. And where's the soif? Not inside of me, inside of you. The tchila for the Talmud is my soif, yeah. And that tchila connects me with my tchila. His tchila connects me with my tchila. You would think his tchila is like, okay, it's tuffle. It's like, I already reached my soif. I'm done. I'm out of the game. No, now starts the quality. Yeah. The fact that you touched his tchila touches your tchila, which means you reinvent yourself in a place that you didn't realize before, you couldn't prepare before. That's the al tikra vayikra ela vayakri, as we spoke about. The real vayikra happens through vayakri. So because if the previous moichin weren't developed, this couldn't happen. Okay, he said something. Because there was so much focus and concentration that the previous moichin came to a shleimus, so they reached their shleimus. How do we know they reached their shleimus? That now the soif, the end, the shleimus, reaches in and triggers something that's much deeper, something new. Now, stage B, v'yis'oirus moichin chadashim, who sibel is talkus moichin hakaidma. And because the new moichin were triggered, were aroused, so what happens? The old moichin have to depart. That's the cause for the histalkus, for the departure of the moichin hakaidma. If the teacher remains in the previous level of awareness and resists a new insight, then there doesn't have to be a histalkus. He could stay there. It's good. Amachaya, you'll develop more. But he knows, he feels that there was a hisayrus of a new light. And if he stays here, it gets lost. It dissipates. So because there's new moichin, there has to be the histalkus, the leaving of the moichin hakaidma. So you see what happens. The moichin hakaidma, the previous level of awareness, reached its fruition, its perfection, its soif. And what happens when the soif is reached? Or chayzer comes back, goes into a place that's even deeper. So there's a new level of moichin. If there's a new level of moichin da'atika, that becomes a cause that the old moichin, the old level of moichin, must depart. He must depart from it. V'ha'istalkus, and the departure happens begimel moichin chachma bin adas. It happens on 3 levels, as you remember. There's grasping the nekuda of the chachma of the new moichin, and then there's histalkus, there's ascent on 1 level. Ascent, going away, departing from the old level of awareness, from the old moichin. It happens in bina, it happens even more das. Aval ha'histalkus, hu sibas ha'gilui me'amoichin da'atik. And it's only this histalkus, which means moving away. Right? Histalic means moving away, departing. It's only this departing from the previous shear, from the previous consciousness, from the previous paradigms, that is the actual cause for the revelation of the new level of moichin. If there wouldn't be histalkus, if he remains in the old moichin, there can't be the gili of the new moichin. You had an insight, boom, it's gone. You lost it. Because there's histalkus of the old moichin, there could be the gilui, the revelation of a new moichin datik. Kemotion is boyle el b'mashal, as explained in the mashal. She'ilu hayadoicha askiril izman acher laharir ba. If the teacher says, you know what, we're going to postpone this skira. Skira is this new insight, this scan, this picture. You know, the camera takes that flash, that picture. It's like that moment. You see a picture, you see it, and you say, no scanning now. We're going to do this another time. That means there would be no histalkus. I don't have to take away my inner machshava. Because my outer machshava, I'm still teaching. So there's a level of thought that's still functioning. But my inner machshava has to now be attuned to the new place until my outer machshava will also ultimately be consumed. But in the beginning, it's the pnimiyus machshavta in a very deep place. I got to tune in, because if not, I won't grasp it. But if I don't want to do this, I want to remain with that which is organized in my mouth, that which I'm structured, I'm comfortable with, I have mastered. It's a shir I have given for 40 years. I know it like you know Ashrei, right? I'm a chaya, I'm in control. It's in my brain captured it. I know it backwards and forwards. You know somebody who taught something for 40 years? It's safe. It's comfortable. It's compact. I got it down pat. Nobody's going to create a challenge that will completely destroy it because, I've been doing this. I'm experienced. 9 to 5 routine. Who wants to go away from that? It's duraloi befiv. There's a seder. I'm a chaya. That's true. You could. There's no histalkus. There's no distance. There's no absence. There's no ascending. But what's possible is that insight, that new moichin, the moichin atika, goes back to its source and completely departs. So we have here there's 3 steps. When the old moichin reaches its ripeness, it's time to fall off the tree. When the fruit becomes ripe, right? We spoke once, it loosens its grip. You know that. Fascinating phenomena. You're not in the spal, Lenny?
Ready to go.
It's ready. Why? The fruit is speaking to me. The fruit is saying, I'm done, come get me. It's a fascinating thing.
Like the birds in the nest.
What do you mean?
The bird, it grows up, it's little, but now it's ready. It's ready to go on its own.
Yeah, flies away.
Here's something loosening.
Like a teenager.
Yeah, in other words, this is not simple. We look loose. It's a very complicated process in the organism. The tree got to know exactly what to do. I loosen my grip. In other words, it's time to go. My dear fruit, I did what I can. I was mashpia. I made you into a mensch. And now you got to get up. Now you got to end up in his abdomen. After a bracha, of course. After a bracha, yeah. In other words, it's ripe. It's time to move on. You're ready for the next stage. That's stage 1. The previous moichin was ripe. It reached its ripeness. What is its ripeness? Its ripeness is not that it stays in me. Its ripeness is not that I steiged to perfection. What's the real ripeness? Soif, the soif. And the soif is in the other. And in that other, it reaches its ultimate. What's part it reaches its ultimate? As it's reached its ultimate now, because it reaches its ultimate, so the ultimate purpose happened. So now you can touch the core behind it all, and therefore a new level of moichin emerged. Stage B, as the new level of moichin emerged, something has to happen now, which is stage 3, and that's the histalkos, the departure from the previous moichin in order to open yourself up to this new level of awareness. Because if I want to remain in my previous state of awareness, I will lose that new insight. And therefore, there has to be a histalkos, a moving away from the old moichin on 3 levels, chachma bina das. Because if I do not want to, I want to remain in the place where everything is structured and organized, I'm going to lose that. And the deeper the histalkos in the pnimius and the oimik of his machshava, meaning I could say, you know what? A little percent of my brain I'll dedicate to that. But the core of my thought, I'm not putting there. But he says, the more you do allow this histalkos, in the depth and the oimik of your machshava, allowing it to absorb the new epiphany, yoiser niglev in eskadav etzle achadoshes b'toisves yoiser. The chiddush, the new material becomes more revealed, becomes closer to you in an additional way. It always equals, it's an equation. The more histalkos, the more gilui. The less histalkos, the less gilui. Why? The more histalkos, the more I'm ready to move away, the more I'm tuning in and I'm absorbing and I'm getting closer to the new level of moichin. The less histalkos, if I only want to move away a little bit, I'm only going to be typhus very little. So if the person says to himself, the teacher says to himself, I want to remain in this place, that will go away. What happens if I'll give a little machshava to it? Maybe I'll just allow for chachma, the intuition of it, but not more. I want to continue everything else. Then you'll have a very little part of it. But because I really want it, I want to absorb it, I want it to be revealed in me. So what happens is slowly, I must ascend from the previous paradigm, open myself up to a new paradigm, and become glued and mesmerized by it. And only when I'm glued and mesmerized by it, can it really become part of me, which also means that at this point, I almost completely, or maybe completely departed and ascended from the previous place, because I can't be mesmerized completely by two things. And when he reaches this place of departure, to the place that even the external words and thoughts are not left anymore. What does that mean? Absolute silence. Which for the student means everything is interrupted. Oops. The chiyus is nifsik, it's cut. It's mamish, like the windpipe, right? We have in the laws of shchita, the esophagus and the trachea, the windpipe, the food pipe and the windpipe and the food pipe are cut. That's called in halacha piske de chiyusa. The chiyus is cut. Literally, no ear could come into the lungs. And what happens to the behemoth? We know what happens. This is what's called histalkus. This is literally called histalkus. Histalkus means the soul departs. A soul departs, it's in another space now. It's not anymore being manifested in this place. Azai, hu simin, sheniklatu hamoichin hachadashim etzel hamashpia b'koyach hadas shelo. This is the simin that he got it. That the mashpia absorbed the new awareness, not only with his chachma and bina, but with his das. What's his das? Let's remember what das is. Das is the ability to gaze at something. Chachma is also a gaze, but Chachma is the gaze that precedes the details. In Chachma, you don't have the emes. It's too nebulous, it's too ambiguous, it's too intuitive, it's too sudden. Das is, there's having the picture of the house, there's building it and making the blueprint of every detail, and then there's the picture afterwards. It's the gaze, ba'amitis hanakuda, in the core point of the idea, after you mevarer, after you dissected and differentiated and clarified all of the nuances, all of the components, all of the building blocks with the koyach habina, ukvar muchan muskel achadosh etzel hamashpia legamri. Now the new insight is prepared. It has become ripe to a certain degree by the mentor. So do you understand there's a level of histalkos that affects only my pnimius, not my chitzonius, meaning I continue talking. I even continue thinking. Sure, the student feels a diminished level of the intensity of the relationship, but I'm still winging it. The play continues. My passion may not be there, my enthusiasm may not be there, my attention has been abducted by something else, but externally, the show goes on. Show goes on. Nobody has to know about the turmoil, backstage. Right? You're familiar with backstage? It's chaos, right? Nobody knows what hit them in backstage. But for the audience who paid $60 a ticket, the show goes on. The whole thing is achurban, shebechurban. Nobody got to know. The main thing is the stage looks good, the curtains are open. Backstage, the director is screaming. Another guy had a heart attack. Another guy wants to kill everybody. Another guy just resigned. Another guy wants to destroy this whole company. But we got to wait till the play is over. No dirty laundry in public. There's a stage where bechitzonius things are continuing. Why? Because the histalkus of the mashpia wasn't so profound. It was just on a limited level. But for him to really capture the new idea, there has to be complete histalkus, complete moving away, distancing himself from the old, which means even the external thoughts and speeches stop. And what does that express itself to the student? Silence, an abrupt silence, which means the entire relationship at this point seems dead. which means he's completely silent, because if he's not completely silent, if he still has a part of him that's teaching, that's focusing on teaching, he can't be tuned in completely to that level of awareness. Maybe chachma, may even be bina, but das is you're just glued. You're glued completely. You're mesmerized by it completely. It's fusion. Va'adam yada eschava. In a moment of intimacy, there's nothing else. Right? Imagine in the middle of a chuppah, the chassan takes the ring. Hareat mekodesh. I just got a text. 1 second. What do you say about such a chuppah? There's something a little off, right? Huh? Let's do a selfie for the Tabas Kedushin. Let the photographer do what he does. He's getting paid. You're a kala, you're a chassid. This is a moment of intimacy. There's I know actually a story. It didn't end up nicely. The chassan came home, and after the chasana, and the kala was just busy with her friends. Her friends texting and Facebooking after the wedding, 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was. The wedding was not sustainable. The marriage, unfortunately, was not sustainable, because it's obviously reflective of a challenge. In moments of intimacy, what's wrong? A woman can't text, a wife can't text her friend. You have to know vu, then. There's moments that are exclusive. Va'adam yada eschava. And in that moment, if other things are happening, it destroys intimacy. The definition of intimacy is that it's a secret. It's one, and there's nothing else. Ooh, the makabel. That's the issue. One moment, right? So for das, there has to be complete histalkus for das. And that means that even the chitzonius of the machshava and dibur, which he was still winging, comes to an end. When he reaches that level of histalkus, with his complete silence, what does it mean for the student? The flow stopped. It's not like sometimes there's a strong flow of water, a powerful current. Sometimes it gets weak. Sometimes there's a trickle, and then boom, it stops. It's over. From the makabel side, what does that mean? That means it was completely absorbed by the mashpia. Because that's the only justification to be quiet. Why you get quiet? I'm waiting. I showed up. I'm here. Why did you get quiet on me? And let's understand what silence means. Silence doesn't mean he's quiet and he's smiling. Silence means that on the surface there's complete detachment. In the beginning, I was completely there. Later, I'm half there. At some point, I'm just winging it, I'm thinking, I'm talking, but it's external. Then, he even stops communicating. Why? Because his mind was being carried away. It looks like he's spaced out. He's not spaced out, he's spaced in. He's not spaced out in the sense that he's daydreaming. It looks like he's spaced out. He was taken somewhere. He was taken on a spaceship to the new, to Moichen Da'atik, to the new, right? And the more he goes there, and he wants to go there to absorb, the less communication. And when you say silence, silence itself has different levels. There is silence, but there's a gesture. I could make like this. I could go like this. Yeah, you go like this. Yeah. Which in America means come back in a year. A minute, yeah. A minute, a secunda, a second. Huh? A stunde. You can go like this, right? So that's communication. It's not the most intimate communication to go like this, but it's communication. There is a gesture. There may be a smile. There may be something called like this, we'll talk. But nishtatik legamri means You go silent completely. In other words, sometimes there's even a communication where you go like, what does this mean? Like, I need some time. Okay, I need my space. Like, it's like a boundary, right? Do me a favor. It's not the gilui, but you're telling me something. I exist. But all that means he's not really there yet. When he becomes really there, he can't even go like this. He can't even go like this. He can't even go, I'm sorry. It's complete nishtatik. That's why Eitzel HaMekabel Nikra Piska de Chiyus, cut off, complete cut off. Why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? Because he wants to be able to give that to the student. Teva hatoiv lahetiv. We learned yesterday, binyan hazachar mehachasadim, which means when Adam and Chava, they were one, Siamese twins. There's a separation happens. Adam is put to sleep. If he's not asleep, and Chava is put to sleep. If he's not asleep, that can't happen. In his sleep, they become decoupled. It's called surgical decoupling. I didn't make up the word. Surgical decoupling, right? Through a surgery, you decouple them. Adam and Chava. He's asleep. It's the smallest level of awareness when he's asleep. And now what happens? He emerges from asleep, and he's a new man. Till now, he was a half a man. She was a half a lady. Now, she's complete. He's finished. Hopefully, or they're both complete. Binyan hazachar, that always comes from chesed. That always comes from love. So why is the teacher going away to this? He's not grasping this idea because he wants to become more perfect and more brilliant, because he wants to teach that to the student also. It's part of his relationship with his student. But in order to teach it, he has to grasp it. In order to grasp it, there has to be the histalkus, the interruption. So now let's understand something. When you're looking at this relationship, the relationship seemed so powerful, so beautiful. And then the relationship hits a stumbling block, and suddenly what you're noticing is distance, drifting away. And every moment that drifting away becomes more drastic and more drastic and more, until the relationship is cut. From an external point of view, what are you observing? You're observing the most beautiful, intimate, glorious, insightful, inspiring, meaningful relationship between this mentor and this student that has been going on who knows for how long, just came to an end. A brutal end. You can already write on the tombstone. You can already put a tombstone on this relationship. And if you're looking at it, you're right. Hey, teacher, Rebbe, wo bist du? Ayeka! No answer. You don't even give me the dignity of answering me. At least tell me you're upset at me. Tell me. My sister, you don't even tell me. Tell me you're angry. Tell me you don't like me anymore. No, you don't even give me that dignity. This relationship has reached its lowest nadir. What is it called? Its lowest nadir. How do you say nadir on Yiddish? Nadir. Huh? No, not nadir. Its lowest point. It can get worse. Wait, it hit rock bottom. If the student is looking superficially, right? Yeah? And if the student goes to a coach, a life coach, and says, "What do you say about my teacher?" He says, oh yeah, you shouldn't abuse. Don't go back there. You have to go rebuild yourself. But if the student sticks around, and not only if he sticks around, if he can take a peek into Pnimiyus, this moment where the distance reached its highest and most painful point, is really the moment of the deepest connection.
It's a really very important point here, because the student, it's not just that the teacher stopped in cessation. It's a feeling like you
Betrayal. Abandonment. That's the feeling. Abandonment. I was left hanging dry. Right. I trusted you. And I'm a Talmud Muvik. Let's remember the difference of a Talmud Muvik. A Talmud She'enoi Muvik means you don't put all your eggs in one basket. Right? I show up, but I show up with my iPhone. If you get boring, I can text. The highest what a Talmud She'enoi Muvik is, I show up with my iPhone. I don't like it, I go somewhere else. I'm a fan, I'm not a player. The game is not going my way, you go home. No skin in the game. You really don't like the game, you get drunk. What do you think happens at the games? You eat French fries, chicken nuggets, hot dogs, Coca-Cola, and it's a couple of beers. So worst comes to worst, you had a party. Your team lost? Yeah, we know that you can't trust those players. In the old days with the old coach, it was good, but now they're all losers, and it's time to change loyalties. He says MS. You've recently changed loyalties after decades? He is sticking around. And if you grew up in America in the culture of sports intoxication, this is mamash how it works. Very important idea. That's called Talmud She'enoi Muvik. I'm a fan, I like you. But if you're going to get bored on me, I have a phone. I have eggs in another basket. That's not a Talmud Muvik. A Talmud Muvik showed up completely. Like he says, he will not lose a word. He invested his life, what we called Hanachas Atzmusai. He carved out a space that's empty. Empty of what? Empty of himself, of his ego. Why? To receive. And he's receiving. And now what happened? You're gone. Betrayal and abandonment are the two words.
So are you saying, since we know it's obviously Lahektiv, like Shlomo says, if he sticks around, but is he making is there a real parallel to Adam and Chava? Meaning that there too, the binyan Lahektiv is a separation, which seems like a separation of something which was one.
Of course.
Talmud, which seemed like it was the one.
Exactly. Adam and Chava could remain connected, but it's going to be achar ba'achar, back to back, which is a level of relationships that is very small. We're always one, but back to back. You never see me, I never see you. And there are marriages that way. They're connected, but they're back to back. Back to back, I don't mean physically, I mean emotionally. I don't see you, you don't see me. We just know we need each other. You know what I'm talking about? It's like you have a partner in business. You don't see him, he doesn't see you. You just need each other. A husband knows he needs his wife knows he needs the husband. A lot of things are better left unsaid. It's called back to back. It's not face to face. I don't see you, you don't see me. For us to have face to face relationship, there has to be a surgical decoupling. Remember those words, Isaac, very important words. In Lashon HaKabbalah, the Arizal calls it Nesira. Nesira is a very famous term in Kabbalah and Chassidus, which means the separation of the couple.
Like a nail?
Nun, like a saw, masar, nun samach yud reish hey. Vive David and Nesira. Yeah. Rosh Hashanah. The night of Rosh Hashanah. It says because they both have to be reconstructed. The binyan of the Zach and the binyan of the Nekeva. Vayiven es ha'isha. Remember Chazal, most of the shittas in Chazal, it wasn't a rib. It was Siamese twins. King James Version decided that Chava was a rib. And there is such a shitta. But Rashi says, du partsufim. They were Siamese twins. It says Hashem took the tzela of Adam and he built it. So the translation in English is he took Adam's rib. So everybody knows Chava was Adam's rib. But if you look at Maseches Eruvin, Daf Yud Ches, quoted by Rashi, and in Zohar and Medrash, most of the Chazal, including Rashi, believed that they were Siamese twins. In other words, Chava wasn't his rib. Chava and Adam were two people, like mamish, like Siamese twins. They were connected, back to back. At least part of them were connected, and they were full people. He put Adam and Chava to sleep in order to separate them and rebuild each one on their own as a separate, distinct organism. You want to know binyan hazachim? I said not binyan hanukva, because it's not for now. But binyan hazach is mechsadim, binyan hanukva is mikvura. That's why. Because the building of femininity comes from gvura, and the building of masculinity comes from chesed. That's why. But that procedure. Yeah, acher v'kedem tzartani. Yeah. There is an opinion of that there was it was like a part of the body, selah. But selah in Hebrew means a rib, but really selah by the Mishkan. It says litzela ha-mishkan shenis, the other side of the Mishkan. Chava wasn't selah, the rib of Adam. She was the other side of Adam. Selah means a side. The rib is on the side, so it became a side. Slayim. No, I know it has that translation, but the Mishkan didn't have ribs. Ulitzela ha-mishkan shenis is the other side. So there's two possible interpretations. I mean, most people think that the common interpretation is a rib. That's actually, there is such a shita. But it's, most of the Rashi says, du partsufim. Pshat is, it wasn't that way. So they're separated now, and he's asleep. And when he's in asleep, there's no connection whatsoever. When you're asleep, there's no connection. But that sleep creates a separation, which allows them to turn around and look at each other. Pana b'pana. So back to our dear student and our beloved teacher. At that moment, when you are looking at what seems the silence that at last cut the relationship, if you have a more pneumistic, if you put on different glasses, if you could see the process from the back end, if you could see things from the inside, you'll see a different picture. The teacher has not detached from the student. In fact, the teacher is driven by a deeper love to the student. He could remain in the old place and give him baby food, but he wants to give him everything because he's a real teacher. Of course he could remain in the sandbox and say, let's enjoy ourselves, but he wants to give him truth. So he's driven by love. And what does that drive him to do? Wow, I just got a revelation. I want you to have that, but I have to go there. As I go there, I am experiencing that revelation, which one day I'll be able to share. So what we are experiencing on one level as the lowest nadir, as the lowest point in the relationship, on another level, their bond has never been stronger. Their bond has never been deeper. But there is a condition. The student has to stick around. If he gets upset at the teacher and says, you're a lowlife, you're a chazeh, you're a behemoth, and he builds an egel, yeah. He builds a substitute, and because of the pain, he becomes an addict. Yeah. What happens then is, he lost the moment. And that means he was not a real Talmud. He didn't really trust. He trusted when it looked good. He didn't trust. Trust means I trust you. Right? You know that store in Borough Park. In God we trust, everyone else pay cash. Yeah. We call it in Yiddish mezumen. Why do you call it mezumen? Mezumen means I don't trust. Even checks are not mezumen. Mezumen means they gotta be right here. You're a good teacher, but I don't trust you. If you deliver the goods, great. The moment I don't feel good about the relationship, I leave you. You left me, I leave you. Quid pro quo. Because I'm not a real student. Because I don't understand who the teacher is. In a real relationship of a chassid and a rebbe, that's what it is. But there has to be complete trust. Right? Yeah, but it doesn't start that way. Because you can get hurt very badly. Ooh. But you're right. Yeshua wanted everything, but Moshe went up to the mountain. And what did Yeshua do when he went up to the mountain? He stood by the mountain. He waited by the mountain. The teacher is not in 99%. The teacher is in 100%. He did not leave anywhere. But depends what glasses you're wearing. If I'm wearing glasses of nigla, meaning if I'm wearing glasses of the outer surface, I call this the moment of distance, the moment of separation. If I put on glasses of pnimiyas, meaning I could see what's happening in the inner core, the mashpia didn't leave. In a way, this is their deepest moment of intimacy. What do we mean it's their deepest moment of intimacy? That the teacher is opening up the student to the deepest truth. But how can he open up the student to the deepest truth? Only by distancing himself and going into this mode of histalkos that we learned, in order to absorb the new light. And as he absorbs the new light, he will ultimately be able to share that with the disciple. Yeah, about salt, yeah. No. That's just called not having manners. Let's not confuse it with that mimer. I know it happens always. You're talking to somebody just walks in as though we're not having a conversation with somebody. It's a very beautiful, yeah.
I don't mean that. I mean like a higher than that. I mean two people having a conversation, trying to discuss something. Husband and wife. So what example is this?
Where did you learn to give such examples? We'll see. Now here there's two stages. Tune in. Stage number one is where there's just silence. And the student looks and he doesn't know what happened. He's confused, he's bewildered. He may get angry, frustrated. Most importantly, anger is usually a secondary emotion. Behind anger there's usually pain or loneliness. Anger is usually just a cover up for what I'm really experiencing, right? You could look at what times you get angry and you'll see there's something behind the anger. So usually behind it there's pain, maybe loneliness, maybe dejection, betrayal, abandonment, fear, I'm afraid, whatever the feeling is. And I'm trying to figure it out. He's just silent, he's quiet. Of course, I'm not experiencing what he's experiencing because I'm the student, I'm not the teacher. Because the teacher himself is struggling with the new idea. Remember, he didn't get it yet. All I see is he's gone. And he's more gone, and he's more gone, it's completely gone. But then something happens, he got it. And I look at his face, and I see that he's in a happy place. There's a simcha there. And because I'm a real student, I'm like, ooh, good things are happening. Good thing. I don't know what's happening, but I know good things are happening. I'm not even ready. If the teacher would start teaching now, I'm not ready for it. But there's something powerful that I see that gives me a certain solace. You know, when sometimes in life, you don't know how it's going to work out, but it's going to work out. It's a certain trust. It's going to work out. How? I don't know. And that's a very comforting point. Like sometimes if you're struggling with one of your children, and your mom is worried, you're worried to your core, you can't sleep, you're anxious. And then you hear something, somebody tells you something that your child said. You know, or you hear about something he did, a decision he made. And you're like, he didn't lose his brains completely. You don't know where it's going to go, there's still a lot of work, but there's like a reassurance that all has not been lost. It's a very powerful, powerful moment. So, I hope you see where this is going. The Tlasa de Puranissa and the Shiva de Nechemta have just been decoded. The 3 weeks from the Shiva Asa B'Tammuz till Tisha B'Av, three weeks. Why 3? Chabad, Chachma bin Adas. Followed by 7 weeks of Shiva de Nechemta. The 3 weeks of Tlasa de Puranis between Shavuos and Tisha B'Av are the tough days in the Jewish calendar. They're the most distant days in the Jewish calendar. They come to a culmination on the night of Tisha B'Av when the Jewish world sings and cries, Eicha Yashva Vadad. Vadad, alone, you're alone. Eicha, alas, how can it happen? Eicha Yashva Vadad, Ha'ir Abasi This was the nation that was Sarasi Bagoyim. It was the leader of all the nations. It was in the highest pedestal. Everyone looked at Jerusalem with envy. It was the glory of the world, the envy of the world. Golsa Yehuda Meirayv Aini. It's gone. Everything is gone. Kol Reitfeh Hisigua Bein HaMetzarim. All that's left is Bein HaMetzarim, between narrow straits. The Jews are running away into little paths and being pursued as Eicha continues. And I'm going to now go back for one moment and tell you what the Medrash says. That when the Jews were exiled, the Navi cried with the word Eicha. And when Adam and Chava were exiled, God cried with the same exact word. Ayeka. Eicha Ayeka. Ayeka means, where are you? Where are you? Eicha is how? Where are you? Where have you gone? So that separation has now reached apparently its most tragic moment, and it's reflected in halacha. The 3 weeks, there's a diminishment of simcha. The Mishnah says meshanichnas of mematin besimcha. You diminish in joy. We don't eat meat. We don't drink wine, etc., etc. All the halachas connected to the 3 weeks, especially the 9 days, in terms of that feeling of grief, of separation, of loneliness. Badad, Eicha Yashva Vadad. And Tisha B'Av, we sit on the floor, we sit on low chairs, and you shut the lights, and all the halachas of Tisha B'Av. I mean, of course, the fasting and no shoes, etc., etc. We all understand what that means. Now here you'll see a fascinating thing. If you'll open up Svarim of Nister, right? Sifrei Kabbalah, especially Chassidus, from the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and his students, you will see they will speak about Tisha B'Av in very different terms. And if you don't understand the structure of Judaism, it's like, are you altering halacha? Are you altering, you didn't alter halacha, but are you altering hashkafa? I'll give one example, Shabbos Chazayin. Tonight is Shabbos Chazayin. Ask any Jew who has a basic Jewish education, why is it called Shabbos Chazayin? And he'll tell you, because the Haftarah begins with the words Chazayin Yeshayahu ben Amitz Asher Chazal Yehuda v'Yerushalayim. The vision of Yeshayahu. And what was the vision? This was the vision of Yeshayahu, who lived 150 years before the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash. But he is the first prophet to prophesize about the pending catastrophe and destruction due to the moral breakdown of Jewish life. One of the expressions in the Haftarah that's going to be read tomorrow is Eicha. Again, Eicha. Eicha hoisa lezoina kirya ne'emana tzedek yalin ba v'atam eratzchem. How can such a loyal city become a harlot? Justice used to dwell in Jerusalem, and now it's filled with murderers. Just one example of how harsh and tough and sad this Haftarah is. He speaks about how society became corrupt. Everyone steals and they rob widows and orphans, and there's no justice and everybody could be bribed. Yeshaya really lets the Jews hear it. He finishes with Tzion b'mishpat tipad v'shaveh b'tzedakah. Tzion b'mishpat tipad v'shaveh b'tzedakah. Right? I'm going to ask you now, okay? Turn to page Gimel. Mamish the beginning. You see Inyan Shabbos Chazoin. This is written by Rav Hillel Paritcher, a Talmud of the Balatanya, the Mittler Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, the author of this Maimon we're learning, and he says, Inyan Shabbos Chazoin. Shamati me avi olav hashalom. Shesipir b'shem harav de barditchev nishmasi begins in Meraimim be'es hayoyse b'Shabbos anal b'kihila b'rayin. My father heard from the Rabbi Yitzchak of Barditchev, who was a student of the Maggid of Mizrich, who was a student of the Baal Shem Tov, who was one Shabbos Chazayin in a community called Ryan, a city called Ryan, and the Barditchev is speaking Shabbos Chazayin. And what does he say? He gives a mush. And what's his metaphor? Me'av sheyesh le ben yakar v'asa lo levush yakar li'slabish boy, or mitzat shloi nizir aben boy say beged v'asa ma'isam asher lo yeyasu karo say lekama krayim. Father has a precious son, and he weaves for him the most beautiful garment, and the boy is completely abusive of this cloak, and he does things that should not be done generally in his life, and he really does not fit this royal cloak based on his behavior, and the father tears up the cloak. Asalei pam sheni levush yakar. The father makes him a second time a garment, and once again he betrays the royal position of this garment. What does the father do? He makes a third garment. He doesn't give it to him. He hides it. Once in a while he shows him the garment. If you learn to behave, I'm going to give you this garment. This is the third time. And the until it becomes so ingrained to who he is, it becomes like his nature, and then he's not afraid to give it to him because this is who he is. Says the Baditchever, V'zeu inyan Shabbos chazoin, loshen mechza. Chazoin comes from the word vision. Shemarin lekol echad v'echad miYisrael hamikdash de la'asad meirachak. What's Shabbos Chazoin? Shabbos Chazoin is the Shabbos when Hashem shows every single Jew the Beis Hamikdash. The third Beis Hamikdash. Shabbos Chazoin is when the father shows the third garment. That's what his father heard from the Baditchever Rav, Shabbos Chazoin and Ryan. And I ask you a question. Shabbos Chazoin is a vision of Yeshaya. Yeshaya doesn't see a Beis Hamikdash. He sees the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Yeshaya lived in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. That's Shabbos Chazoin. Comes up Levitzak Baditchever and says, what's Shabbos Chazoin? Every Jew has somewhat of a vision of the Beis Hamikdash on the Shabbos. Which Shabbos Chazoin am I living in? Is it a vision of destruction? It's a different vision. Chazoin Loshen Mechza Shemarin Hamikdash. I see a Beis Hamikdash, or I see a Beis Hamikdash in flames. What do I see? But the truth is, I'm attributing it to the Baal Shem Tov, to his Talmud. You open a Yerushalmi. Yerushalmi says, when was Mashiach born? On Tisha B'Av. And lahalacha, that's why we say Nachem. That's why after Chatzos, it's diminished Avelas. Yirmiyah calls Tisha B'Av Moyed. We don't say Tachnun on Tisha B'Av because it's a Yom Tov. This is a Nigla in halacha. What's going on? Eichmer Yom Tov. This is a Yom Tov Moyed. So some people say it's going to be a Yom Tov. Well, we took it already now. It says in Yerushalmi Tainus a story that there was a man who was plowing his field with an ox, and his ox gave a what's the expression when an ox grunts? A krechts, exactly. And an Arab walked by, and this Arab he understood animals, so he told the Jew, "Stop plowing your field." Why? Your Beis Hamikdash just went up in flames. It was Tisha B'Av. Stop plowing your field. And the ox, animals feel things that we don't feel. The ox knows it. Stop. Don't plow your field. Remove the yoke. Life is over. A moment later, the ox gave another boo. Yerushalmi says, he said, start plowing again. Mashiach was born. You could start plowing. Yerushalmi, Talmud Yerushalmi. You look in Gemara in Yom, I think Nun Dalet, when the Gentiles came into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, before Tisha B'Av, what did they see? Kruvim Mu'urin Zebazah. The cherubs were intertwined, they were hugging each other. The Gemara says usually the Kruvim looked at each other, male, female, boy, girl. If the Jews were not in a good place, they looked away from each other. If they were in a good place, they looked at each other. Before Tisha B'Av, what would you expect? What should they see? How were the Kruvim? The furthest away, back to back. Not only were they looking at each other, they were hugging each other. The Gemara says that the Gentiles took out the Kruvim and said, look what the Jews are busy thinking about in their holiest place. This is what they're busy with. This was like a mockery for them. What is going on here? But Do you see now the pattern? It's all the same thing. At that moment when the teacher and the student have reached the lowest level of their relationship, if you look at it from an external point of view, they are distant in a way that they were never as distant. But if you see the pnimiyas, they were never closer. Because what's happening right now is the teacher is driven to give them the deepest light in the world. But in order to give him the deepest light in the world, it is necessary to have a complete departure of the old paradigms. So as the new light was born, he could say, I don't want to give him the new light, but I want to give him the new light. So I go away from the old light, and it gets dark. And on 3 levels, Chachma, Bina, Das. The next 7 weeks, what happens? The teacher got it. 3 weeks were complete. Tisha B'Av, Mashiach is born. That's the pnimius of Tisha B'Av. It's not some nice Torah to make Jews feel good. That is Tisha B'Av. So both elements of Yiddishkeit are 100% correct. It's just what level you're looking at. On one level, it's a time of tremendous grief. On that very same reality, it's a time of tremendous intimacy. Intimacy.
Allah operates on a level of Chitzonius.
Yeah.
And Chitzonius is...
Yeah, exactly. Halacha operates on a level of nigla. That's halacha. It's called nigla the Torah. But my point here is that this is not just, even in nigla we see this. Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av, says in Yerushalmi. This guy is plowing. Stop. No, start. Mashiach is born. Really? Mashiach was born 3 seconds after somebody went up in flames? Where is he? This Mashiach got to be 1900 years old. You know somebody's 1900 years old? You know, they use this Yerushalmi, the Christians use this Yerushalmi. Pablo Christianity tried to use this Yerushalmi to show that the Messiah was around then. And he said, the Ramban said, you got it wrong because the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed in the year 70 and he was already dead. Yashka was dead already. So what happened? Your Mashiach was born 40 years too late. No. Oh, our Mashiach, yeah. If this is the Mashiach you're referring to, he was born after your Messiah was gone. So something off. Fine. I'm just telling you what happens at that debate. What's the pnimius of this? It's not 2 separate events. When you're looking at that teacher, on one level, there's exile, there's loneliness, there's separation. On another level, why was there separation? Because the light of Mashiach was just born. Because a new light just came into the world. The very separation is a symptom of an intimacy with a completely new paradigm. A new light was born. And because the new light was born, the old light disappeared. It's not 2 separate events. Yeshaya sees destruction, the Baditsheva sees a Beis Hamikdash. It's the same exact thing. What on one level is destruction, on another level is renovation. I see a tractor in your house. I call you up. They're destroying your house. They just threw down your walls. You're like, calm down, Rabbi. Why? I'm renovating. No! They're demolishing. It was a beautiful wall. Yeah, to renovate, you got to demolish. You see? So, do I see the new house or do I see the old house? If you're looking at it from one perspective, oi! The house was destroyed. Or you could say, a new house is being built. It doesn't mean demolition is fun. Demolition ain't fun. Working with contractors, no fun. Demolition is not fun. It's not easy. But it's renovation. It just depends what you see. Do you see it on one level? Do you see it on another level? Whenever something is being destroyed, whenever an old level of reality is being destroyed, you have to look at it you could look at it in one of 2 ways. The old walls are coming down, which means I'm lost. Everything I had is gone. Or a new house is being created, and this is creating space for the new house. Have a wonderful Shabbos. Because both sides are real. Both sides are real. Both sides are real. Again, what? I just want to announce Shabbos, we have the regular shiurim that we have, Shabbos morning, and Tisha B'Av Sunday, there'll be a 2:30 lecture in the tent across the street, 11 Forshay. Everybody's invited, men and women. And Monday morning we'll resume Be'ezer Hashem Bli Neder. Just 1 second. Rabbi Isaac, what do you ask? Well, now we're the best students. We're even better students. This is all connected to the question of why is there a gullus without a sin? Remember? That was the whole discussion. We always associate gullus with sin, but maybe it's not always about that. When the teacher separated from the student, it's the opposite. It's because he wants to give him everything. He wants to give him infinity. It's a whole different reality. That's why the closer we come to the Geula, the more the pnimius of Tisha B'Av comes out. Right? They say by the Ruzhiner, the B'Yisrael of Rizhin, the Heilige Ruzhiner, so they used to throw in his shul berelach on Tisha B'Av. What are berelach? Those bubkas, you know, that sticks to you. Yeah.
It's a seed from a plant that's sticking.
It's a seed and it sticks on you. It was like a little... And the Heilige Ruzhiner, and then they decided to do a new shtick. They had two chevre on the rafters of the shul, and they had like a swing. They attached a swing, a chain. Anybody who came in, as he walked into shul, he didn't realize there was a chair waiting for him. And they lifted him up, and they lowered it. And then they just did it to everybody. The Ruzhiner came in, the Heilige Ruzhiner came in, they didn't realize who it is. Threw him in the chair, they pick him up, he comes to the rafters, they take a look, and they see the B'Yisrael of Rizhin. They wanted to bury themselves from shame. Yeah. He was calm. He looked up to heaven and he said, Ribono Shel Olam, Avinu Shebashamayim Tata in Himmel. Hast gegeben a Tag zu Yidden. Tisha B'Av. Du zest as wissen nicht. Wird so abhitten the Tag. Nimm es weg. You gave the Jews a day. They don't know how to observe it. They're not observing it. Take it away. The Balatanya had a chav. His name was Reb Shlomo Karliner. Shlomo Karlin was one of the big tzaddikim in Karlin is in the Belarus, Lithuania. And he came once, he was a student of Reb Aaron Karliner, Reb Aaron Hagadol of Karlin. This is a Karliner Maisa. So Reb Shlomo of Karlin came to visit the Balatanya before Tisha B'Av, and he stayed for Tisha B'Av in Lyazhna. Lyazhna is a little city in Belarus where the Alter Rebbe lived. At night, in the Beis Medrash of the Balatanya was a Yid, his name was Reb Shmuel Munkus. Shmuel Munkus was one of the Chassidim of the Balatanya, and he was very known for his sense of humor. He was also a gon, but he was a very funny person. And it was the night of Tisha B'Av, and he was, kibbutzing, but he was a little lightheaded. It looked lightheaded. Shlomo Karliner looked at Balatanya and he says, "To libdi yungalait is the Beis Hamikdash charav gevara." Because of such guys, the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. Frivolous. The next day in the afternoon, the Balatanya and Shlomo Karliner went on a walk, and they went to a forest outside the city. They took a long walk. In the forest, they see a Jew sitting by a tree, weeping, weeping, weeping. There's bugs all over him, and he's crying and crying. Tisha B'Av. Shlomo Kalina says, and because of such younger light, the Beis Hamikdash is going to be rebuilt. Balatanya told them it's the same person. Reb Shmuel Munk is the same person. There's two types of humor. There's a humor that comes from lightheadedness, and there's a humor that comes from not taking your ego seriously and looking at the pnimius of things. It's a different type of humor. There's humor that comes because you don't care. There's humor that's actually, it's a deep connection. You understand? You have to be able to know the difference. So he says, it's the same younger man, the selbe younger man. It's Reb Shmuel Munkus. Okay.
Why did you say the relationship between the Chassid and the Rebbe? If the Chassid is the Rebbe, it could be problems.
No, I was saying there first has to be 100% trust. A Chassid and a Rebbe, this type of relationship can only exist if there's 100% trust. It's not bad. There has to be a real Rebbe. If you tell a person, make him your Rebbe, but you don't trust 1,000%, you're going to get hurt. That's my point. You understand? This can only exist, this whole mashal can only exist if the Chassid and the Rebbe have not 90% trust, but 100% trust, 1,000% trust. If that trust is ruptured even a drop, you can't have that relationship. I'm not going to show up completely. What if today you're in a bad mood? What if today your ego got to you? It's a very serious thing, this. It's one of the issues that a lot of people deal with in the last few decades, maybe even before. You can't have a chassid showing up 1,000% if a Rebbe doesn't show up 1,000%. It should be different. You can't have a chassid show up 1,000% if a Rebbe doesn't show up 2,000%. You understand? Because a real Talmud, a Talmud Muvik means you are completely open. And if you're completely open, you're completely vulnerable. And if you're completely vulnerable, yeah, and that person doesn't show up, or never mind betrays you or abandons you, you're never going to be able to open up to anybody. You have that today constantly. You'll speak to different people, you'll see. It doesn't work. You say, you show loyalty to me, but if I like you, I'll be loyal to you. It's a different relationship. It's a business relationship. There's nothing wrong with business relationships. I like you, I'll invest in you. I'm getting money, I'll invest. The moment your company's bankrupt, I'm out. I'm not here to invest in you, Stam. Doesn't work. It's like telling a wife to, you be loyal completely to your husband, be a makabel, right? Empty yourself out and just be open to him. But he, one day is you, another day is somebody else. It's not going to work. She'll close up and she'll never open up again. I was there. I needed your love. I needed your understanding. I said, I don't have time for you today. I'm not interested. I have somebody else today. That's fine, but then we become business partners, you know. I take care of the laundry and you take care of the credit cards. That's fine. A lot of marriages work that way. I do the laundry, you do the credit cards, I do the food, you take care of the bills. I do the house, you take care of the pool. Much less trust. There may be basic trust in terms of a business, you know. But that's why I opened myself up. I needed you to understand. I needed you to empathize. I needed you to fill it. I needed you to fill my empty space, to be there, to be present there. I needed the mashpia to fill the makabel space. And when the makabel fills, the mashpia is gone. That's why only a Talmud Muvik can experience this moment and remain. When he sees the teacher going away, if there's trust, he knows that he didn't really go away. He looked like he went away. You understand? It looked like he went away. He didn't go anywhere. Not only did he not go away, he actually went closer. Not only did he not go away, he actually became closer. Because the reason he's going away is because he wants to give you everything. It's because the love is infinite. And therefore he doesn't want to give you little cholent beans. He wants to give all of truth. So the reason he went away is not because he went away. Because it's because of the closeness. He wants to give you the new truth, the new idea. Verstandig?
Back to the metaphor with the construction. Right? You have the guys that get the permit, or the government interrupts while construction.
If you have what?
While you reconstruct the home, you get permits. they're corrupted. The guys that give the permits, they go on. It's very hard. Stop trusting.
You're right. You're right.
I was offended during the shir. The Rebbe said the Talmud Mubah has to put the cell phone away. I was listening to the shir with the cell phone.
Very good. I was talking about the people who were present.
I was using
I was also present.
Rabbi, I was looking to look into it. I didn't have a copy.
I hear. Huh?
The story about the mother was crying when they sent away the six, but the Rebbe sent away the 6 or 7 child. Same thing.
Similar, yeah.
The small monkeys was the same guy that knocked him in the night.
Yeah.
What happens when a tree is certain is doing a tree coupling is certain why is it good for
A tree?
why is it good for the fruit when they get
No, well, the fruit is ready. The tree says, I did my job. It's time to fly away. Your tachlis is not to remain on the tree. Your tachlis is to bring pleasure and delight to humanity.
And you also make room for the new ones.
And also I got to do my job. I'm in production, I'm not in sales. I'm in production, I'm not in sales. Verstehst? Okay, huh? No, of course, why not? As we reach the punchline, you want me to...
What's the minute of Chabad on Shabbos Chazon? Can you make an upruf on Shabbos Chazon?
A kiddush, you mean?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I don't know, I have to look, I don't remember. Right, why not?
You have to diminish the sin. If somebody's getting married right after,
Right. In Shulchan Aruch it says that you can eat a Shabbos basa kesudas shloima b'shaita, like the meal of shloima.
that's what I was doing.
By Chassidim, there was a minhag by a lot of Chassidim that they would be moisef in Simcha these Shabbosim, because of what we spoke about. That there's a deeper level of Simcha, but it has to be obviously halachically permissible.
This is what I was busy with while I was listening to the shir. I was cooking
Okay.
the talk was the right time.
Okay. Gewaldig. You understood the Rashi yesterday? The last Rashi?
Yes, beautiful. Mamish, he rewired the whole thing, the whole machlokes.
Yeah.
6-way machlokes, 9-way.
Yeah. Okay. Can I just trouble you for the Gemara, both Gemara, the blue and the brown? Rabbi Aaron, I want to look up a translation. You mind? Can I take a look just for a moment?
This one's
Yeah, no, just I think this is the same, yeah.